The world can be a dangerous place. Gear up with the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. Equipping your firearm with laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way. Call 800-442-2406 or visit crimsontrace.com and receive a free copy of our new laser training video, The Laser's Edge. Crimson Trace.
I'm a gun owner.
Your views, advice, and questions are the driving force of Gun Talk.
You know, I don't think that guns are scary things.
Visit us online at www.guntalk.com. Call Tom now at 866-TALK-GUN, 866-825-5486. Let us know what you think about the gun-related issues of the day. Now, back to Gun Talk.
And we are back, and I am still Paul Markel, host of Student of the Gun. And I'm with Tom, who still has laryngitis. He did not get any better over the break. Sorry. But you're going to have to deal with me for at least another 2 hours. And if you only get the second or third hour of this, or if you are listening to this on the treadmill in the middle of the week, which I know a lot of you guys do, that's when you catch up on your podcast. Hey, I want you to do 10 more minutes for me. Got it? All right, fantastic. Now, we are up on the top of the second hour. We got even more excellent guests lined up, and we've got one on right now. His name is Alan Gottlieb, and he's with the Second Amendment Foundation. And as this is the beginning of a brand new year, we're going to talk to Alan about some of the things that are going on in the nation that you may not be aware of, some legal issues, and where we're going in this new year. Alan, are you there with us?
I sure am. Good to be with you, Paul, and I hope Tom's feeling a little better.
He's in the pink. He's got a lot of talking to do next week, so I think he's being conservative with his voice so that he can do some speaking, because you know how it is at SHOT Show. By Friday, you pretty much have lost your voice anyway, even if you started out healthy.
That's very, very true. So I look forward to seeing Tom at SHOT, and I'll be there as well. The Second Amendment Foundation has a booth, and all your listeners are welcome to come on by and say hi.
Bingo. 2013. So what are we doing? What I guess our folks want to know, did we get any, what were some of the successes that we had during the last year, and what are some of the challenges that we have coming up for the year 2014?
Well, obviously last year we had the kitchen sink thrown at us, both on a federal and a state level. And, of course, when that happens, you don't win every battle. We won most of them, which is really good. But I sort of take it personally whenever we lose any battles. And while we beat everything on a federal level, we had some problems in a number of states, particularly like New York, Colorado, New Jersey, Maryland, and a number of others. But overall, what was interesting was we passed more pro-gun legislation in more states than they passed anti-gun legislation in so-called anti-gun states. And so the bottom line was that we had a pretty good year, but coming into 2014, I expect it to intensify and the battle to be much more harsh. I think we're seeing some developments from last year where the other side, one, raised more money than they've ever raised before, and two, they organized better and more than they've ever done before. And people like Mayor Bloomberg, now that he has his hands more free, not having to serve as mayor of New York City, his pet cause is gun prohibition, and Mayor Bloomberg is going to be coming after our guns all over the country. So his group is now merged with the mom's group, so to speak. So now that he's at grassroots plus the mayor's plus his dollars in his bank account, and he's planning on spending millions of dollars against us this year. Quite frankly, last year we were outspent. The anti-gunners outspent the pro-gun rights movement for the first time, and I expect that to happen again this year. Looking ahead, if you want me to keep going with this,
well, actually, I was going to dovetail or just put a little asterisk on the end of that. We talked to David Codrea at the very beginning of the show about how the states, and this is something that we probably want to elaborate on a little bit. We feel a type of victory when we win at the federal level. When Feinstein and Schumer, when they don't get their pet projects, they don't get that pushed through. And we take a sigh of relief as a nation, say, okay, as patriots, we won that one. But they're operating from a different playbook now. They've realized they've become sentient. The machine is learning. and that they're not winning at the federal level. So what are they going to do? It's a lot easier for them, and I think they figured this out a long time ago, but they're pushing it recently to get through something in a state, especially a friendly state like Connecticut or New Jersey, or surprisingly enough, Colorado, to push things through enough states so then it becomes common throughout the United States. Say, well, and then they can look to the American public and say, well, these rules are already in place in California and New York and so forth, so let's just do it nationally. So do you believe that they basically figured out we're going to, rather than try and knock all the dominoes down at one time, we're going to knock them down one at a time and see how they fall?
Well, I agree with everything you just said, but I don't really think necessarily they figured that out. I think it was an invention of necessity, so to speak. What happened was that historically, whenever they came to the federal level, which they claim we can only have gun control at the federal level, otherwise it doesn't work, then they moved to the state level anyway. And so when they can win at the federal level, they push it there. When they can't win at the federal level, they bring it back to the state level. So it's not necessarily new. What's new, though, is the intensity of it and the amount of money they have that they're throwing against us from a number of multi-billionaires and millionaires, around the country. And we're going to see that intensify in 2014. Particularly, it's already started in my home state of Washington. There's Bloomberg people and have got together with money and some millionaires here in the Seattle area who are anti-gun and put on a ballot initiative known as 594. We put a counter initiative got on the ballot as 591. They spent upwards of $1.5 million to qualify their initiative. We spent $750,000, $800,000 to qualify our initiative, money that, by the way, the gun rights movement didn't really have budgeted, so it hurt a bit. These initiatives go to the legislature first, and then the legislature obviously will probably do nothing, and then it goes to the ballot to be voted on. What they're hoping is, of course, is that they can get people in states like Washington, which it tends to be gun friendly, but also tends to be a so-called blue state where the liberals are in control of it. They're hoping that they can push it through and get a ballot measure passed here, and then they can say that, let's see, the American people have now spoken, and it's not just done in the state here and the state there, so if states have it, let's go ahead and do it. They can actually say the American people have spoken and repudiated the gun rights movement, and now we need to do this nationally. And so that's what our big concern is, and Bloomberg has already made it known that he's planning on ballot measures in 5 key states in 2014. It started in Washington first because our way our election laws are written, you have to do it starting early in 2013. But you're going to see this on the ballot in 5 states in 2014 and the November elections. And so we have to keep our eyes open for that.
We're going to go ahead. Can you hold over with us through the break?
Oh, yes, sure.
All right, fantastic. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break, and then we will be right back with more from Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation.
What do LaserMax customers say about LaserMax lasers?
I'm alive because of your company. I was robbed at gunpoint. 2 of my 3 shots hit their intended target, and I was able to remove the threat. I made it home to my wife alive.
For shooting accuracy and training, it's a life-saving tool critical to any firearm.
I trust your products with my life. Thank you.
To learn more about LaserMax, go to lasermax.com. That's LaserMax.com. LaserMax.
No matter what gun you have, you want it to hit harder, shoot faster and flatter, and be more accurate. You get all that with the ammunition from Double Tap. Double Tap's experts select the best bullets, then load them to higher velocities while keeping safe pressures. Shoot small groups. Shoot farther. Use custom hunting loads in your handgun or rifle. Even fire 2 projectiles with 1 shot. DoubleTapAmmo.com. That's DoubleTapAmmo.com.
If you carry a gun, you need training. Your concealed carry class was definitely not training. But time, money, and obligations keep you from spending days at a shooting school. The trusted folks at Gun Talk can help. Concealed Carry 1, our DVD featuring the VADA Group, covers what gun, what holster, how to carry, where to wear your gun, and much more. Visit shopguntalk.com. That's shopguntalk.com. Look, this really is life and death. Learn how to stay aware, how to get away, and how to fight if you must. At shopguntalk.com, you can get the 2 DVD set, including Fighting with the 1911 with Tiger McKee. No matter what gun you carry, this vital training info can save your life. Learn the draw, the stance, reloading, vital gear from Gun Talk. That's shopguntalk.com. Shopguntalk.com.
If you're looking for a safe and trusted way to sell your firearms, look no further than Dury's Gun Shop. I trusted them to sell my dad's collection. They built their business for over 50 years on honesty and customer service. Dury's Guns will buy any size collection or estate, none too big or too small. Selling your firearms to Dury's Guns is easy. Go with the pros. I trust Dury's Guns. Dury'sGuns.com.
Want your opinion to make a difference? Log on to our website and take the Gun Talk poll. www.guntalk.com. Now, back to Tom.
Or back to Paul. And Paul has got Alan holding over the break. Alan Gottlieb from the Second Amendment Foundation. And before we took the break, we were talking about some of the successes that we had in 2013. And we did have some. Don't be too depressed. But what I want you to be is I want you to be cautiously optimistic. There's a difference between, being a sourpuss and saying everybody's against me, we're never going to win, and then saying, well, we won, so we're good now. We don't need to do anything. We can just forget about it. Or things will take care of themselves. And I think my guest here, Alan, is not one of those people that believes that if we just leave everything alone, it'll sort itself out. We need to be the ones to sort it. So, Alan, what are we doing right now in the courts with these bills to sort it out? Do we have any pending cases that you're aware of that could potentially go very well for us or the opposite way?
Yeah, there are a number of cases in the courts right now. There's about 30 cases working their way on up. Let me say what our end game is. What we need is to get one more case to the United States Supreme Court that gives us the right to carry, certified through all 50 states as a constitutional right. And that's the main thing that we're working on. And the bills in that area, or the court cases in that area that have the best chance of getting there right now, is probably coming right now out of New Jersey or California. There's a case, the Richards case in California, which is the appeals court level now, and we're waiting for a decision that, quite frankly, is overdue. And then California being a may-issue state, not a shall-issue state. Mm-hmm. And then we have one out of New Jersey, which is a very draconian system of giving out permits to very few people. That we're at the appeals court, we're past the appeals court level, and we've moved for cert at the U.S. Supreme Court on it. So we're waiting to see if we can get that one before the Supreme Court. There are a number of other carry cases as well that are moving through the courts that can help us in that area. One very interesting case also coming out of California is one we have there. California has a so-called handgun roster that if a gun is not on a handgun roster, you can't buy it. Mm-hmm. And sort of like just imagine that if you had a list of books you could buy and read, and the book you wanted wasn't on the list, it'd obviously be a violation of your First Amendment rights. But in California, they have this violation of your Second Amendment rights. Well, what happened is, since we filed that case, obviously California had passed the microstamping bill as well. And then what happened was that microstamping bill finally became effective. And so we were able to amend our suit to include microstamping along with the handgun roster, because if your gun isn't any new gun sold in California, you would have to have this microstamping, and as a result, it wouldn't be allowed to be put on the roster. The judge agreed with us over California's objections and allowed us to add that to it. So the first challenge on microstamping, as well as the so-called handgun roster in California, is now moving through the courts. The state of California moved to be dismissed, asked for a summary judgment motion, and the judge ruled against them, and that was a good sign as well. So we're looking at a whole lot of cases moving in a number of different areas for gun rights across the country, but our end game is to get one more case for the Supreme Court to quote unquote certify, so to speak, that your right to carry, that your right to self-defense, the right to own a firearm doesn't stop at your front door nationally.
Who'd have ever thought that in the year, let's say 1787, 1791, that we would come to the point as a nation where we had to go back through the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and actually get the court to affirm what has already been written. I find it hilarious. Just in Mississippi, we had an instance that happened this last year where Mississippi essentially from their state constitution had been an open carry state the whole time. But the verbiage in the state law was a little bit weird. So they went and they cleaned it up. Basically, they took out the arbitrary verbiage from the bill. They put it back through. The governor signed it. We're good to go. People started losing their minds. They're like, what do you mean? You can't allow people to do that. And they're like, well, it actually said in the Constitution way back at the very beginning that this was okay, but we kind of forgot about that. Now, Alan, when it comes to carrying a firearm, we like to wrap ourselves around these little, concealed carry, open carry, OC, but do you believe that the term constitutional carry is where we need to go? Do you think that that is our end game, is constitutional carry for every state?
Well, I'd love to see that happen, but it's not going to. It's hard enough to get it in the so-called red states where conservatives control legislatures, so to speak. It's next going to be impossible to ever get it in in the states that the Schumers and the Feinsteins come from. What we're looking at though is that we need to have a right to carry. The Supreme Court ruled that the right to carry exists. And then we can go from there and push constitutional carry, or even just, shall issue concealed carry, which a lot of states don't have still. And so we're moving in that direction, but it's going to be slow. Let me tell you my big concern. My big concern is the number of judges that Barack Obama has to the, not just the U.S. Supreme Court, but the appeals court and the lower district courts. Because the Supreme Court doesn't have to hear our cases. An appeals court does, but you're not guaranteed to get a case to the Supreme Court. And he is stacking the deck against us in all the courthouses across the country, so that these judges basically make the most ridiculous rulings against us. And there's a record number of vacancies left to be filled on the courts right now. If Obama is able to fill all those vacancies in his remaining 3 years, he basically slammed the courthouse door shut in our face and closed that avenue to protect our rights. And I'm very, very concerned about that. And that's why the 2014 midterm elections are very significant year.
Well, and that's something that I think a lot of people that they neglect. Even voters will neglect, or they don't consider. It's like, it does matter who you vote for. It does matter who the president is, the governors, because they're the ones that appoint these quote unquote, the men in black, the judges for life, these people that sit in judgment of the laws that you say, well, the law is a law and it's easy to read. It's right there. I can read the English language. I understand it. But apparently it's not that easy. And we can only hope that Barack Obama will run out of cronies and college buddies sometime in the near future. But I don't really see that happening. But you're right. And from a historical standpoint, when I was a teenager, when you were a teenager, the term concealed carry kind of was a misnomer. It was a crime. Most states in the United States, very few had it. And we've seen the shall issue come forward, and now we're seeing certain states have taken on they're like, well, we don't need a shall issue. It's called constitutional carry. If you're lawfully, if you're a citizen that can own a firearm, you can carry that firearm regardless of how it's configured on your body. And it does take a while, and it does take effort, and it does take us, the good guys, the reasonable people, to pay attention and to understand that Rome wasn't built in a day. And, if you live in a shall issue state, I bet you it wasn't a shall issue state 30, 40 years ago. And that didn't happen by accident. It happened because people paid attention. And instead of just, sitting in their house watching their fantasy football or they're Dancing with the Stars, they actually put a little bit of commitment into being a citizen. Now, Alan, we're getting up to the end of the break, but I want to give you the opportunity. Are there any things that people should be aware of, or would you give them advice as to, hey, if you follow give them some words of encouragement, what can they do?
Well, 2014 is going to be a very important year to be engaged, and the encouragement is, quite frankly, this is the year that we can shut this debate down for a while, or the other side is going to score some big victories. So the bottom line is that we really have to be vigilant, engaged, and active, and supporting all the gun rights groups across the spectrum, and stand up this year, because last year we really took some hits, and we don't want to take any more hits in 2014.
Exactly. Now, the Second Amendment Foundation, folks want to get involved with the Second Amendment Foundation. They want to read what you're writing. Where should they go? What should they do to get more information from you?
Best place is on the net at saf.org. It's samalphafrank.org, or just put Second Amendment Foundation in your browser and we'll pop right up. All the legal cases going on around the country are on that website. So if you're interested really in litigation, that lets you know exactly where the playing field is and what's happening.
Okay. Is there when they go to your website, is there any way that they can then filter where they live or find out the cases that are local to them or ones that they should get involved in?
Well, there's a place to sign up for alerts, and we will send you alerts based upon where you're living, or what impacts you. But also, it's pretty easy to see where the cases are, which ones impact them directly in your states. A lot of our cases impact people more than just filed it in, because our cases are in federal court mostly, and what we're trying to do is get national, precedents, not just local precedents.
Okay. So, folks, what you want to do is you want to go to the Second Amendment Foundation website. You want to sign up, give them your email address, and let them send you the alerts so that you can decide whether or not that's something that you should be concerned about or whether it involves you. Now, Alan, I thank you for helping me through it on my my maiden voyage here on Gun Talk Radio. I appreciate you helping me out today.
Paul, you did a great job. It sounds like you do this every day of the week.
Well, I try. I do try. All right, Alan, I appreciate you being with us, and we're going to go to John, who's been holding on line one. John, are you out there?
Good afternoon, Paul. How are you?
Oh, fantastic, and welcome to Gun Talk Radio.
Thank you. I was at a gun show today, and the gentleman that called before about Alliant powders, real quickly, there was a lot of Alliant powders at that gun show, just ones I've never heard of.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's time to try a new powder. Maybe you'll find a new favorite. But
okay.
I'm looking at primers, Wolf, and they make those aluminum cased ammo, cheap ammo.
Yes, sir. You gotcha.
There was Wolf brand primers, and I don't know anything about them. And here again, it was a very low cost, and there was a lot of them.
Okay. Well, here's what I would recommend. Now, I believe Wolf actually makes a lot of components for other firearms manufacturers. Once you go to Wolf, get online, check out Wolf, and I believe that they make all non-corrosive primers here in the United States, or they import them. So, thank you for calling, John. We appreciate you being out there, and we will be back.
One of Talker Magazine's 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America. You're listening to Gun Talk, heard every week at this time on great radio stations across America. Stay tuned. Gun Talk is coming right back. Covering all aspects of gun ownership every week on this fine radio station. You're listening to Gun Talk with Tom Gresham.
And we are coast to coast live. That's right. This is Paul Markel, and I am filling in for your beloved host, Tom Gresham, who is resting his voice this week. Tom's got a big week coming up next week, and he doesn't want to push it. So we're going to let Tom rest his voice, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through this week's episode. Now, we've got I think Tom lined up all these hosts, these awesome hosts, these veteran guests, people who have been on here many, many times before, because at very least, if I just froze up, I could say welcome, and then they could carry the show for me. So, well, what we've got Jim Shepard, and Jim is on hold right now. Jim is the editor of The Shooting Wire, The Outdoor Wire, The Wire Services. And you're like, The Wire Services? That's right, The Wire Services. Online, you can check them out every day with what is going on in the gun world. If you want to know about it, you want to check out The Shooting Wires or The Outdoor Wire. I'll let Jim tell you more about his products when I bring him on. Jim, are you there?
Yeah, I'm like, you sure that's Paul?
It is me. Oh, come on
now. It is you, and it's good to hear you on there with Tom. I think you guys would be a great combination.
Well, you know, the fates brought us together here. The fate of Tom getting sick over the Christmas holiday and me being only 1 hour's drive away, that didn't hurt.
Well, but, convenience is a lot of that. And, we'll all be together next week, and I agree about pushing it. I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to take it easy this week.
Everybody needs to start double dosing vitamin C and B and all that good stuff, because you got to watch out for the dreaded SHOT Show bug.
Well, I started yesterday with the C and the B and all of the above, and you're exactly right. And I'm getting over knee surgery, so I'm wondering if I don't need to get me one of those little old fart mobiles and bang people's ankles up and
You
down.
remember what I told you about the get-arounds? If I see you in a get-around, then it's probably going to be the last show that I see you at. Yeah,
if you see me on the get around, that'll be my last show.
That'll be your last show. That it's a lot of great firearms industry guys, Jeff Cooper and Rex Applegate, and their very last SHOT Show, they did it on a get around, and within 12 months they had departed from us. And I still believe that when they default to the get around, that you better stop and shake their hand, because that may be the last SHOT Show that you see them at.
And you say that, and I have two dear friends I lost, and both times, the last time I saw them, they were at a trade show on a scooter.
Yep.
I think there's probably something to that. That's your farewell tour. But, boy, there are a lot of new things that are going to be saying howdy this year rather than just, used stuff. It won't be just us old guys getting together for the homecoming week. There's a lot of decent product out there coming in.
Well, actually, that I'm glad that you're here, because when we were doing show prep, Tom and I were talking about what everybody is starting to gin up and get excited about is that our friends down in Smyrna, they decided to, apparently they opened the vault and they had a production engineer back there that in a glass case. Well, they broke the glass case, and they got this engineer out, and they're like, "Hey, make a new gun." So our Glock's got some new stuff out there. What do you have on the new Glocks, Jim?
Well, I have not put hands on the new ultra compact. I don't know what they're exactly calling it. Everybody's called them a baby Glock.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the
their
mini
subcompact. I've seen pictures. I've talked to a couple of people who shot it. They love it. And, the little gun is where it's all headed, Paul. Not just the guys from Smyrna. The guys from Ilion are rolling out a small gun. And it's actually kind of an old gun doing an encore.
Yeah, that's what I took
really
from that.
Glad to see coming to market.
Now, did you get a chance to shoot the new R51?
I bet I shot 1,200 rounds through an R50, through about 4 R51s. And they were, what do they call them, production proofs. They weren't the ready for shipping guns yet. Those are supposed to be coming out the first of next month. But there were about 8 or 9 of us were shooting them, and we put over 5,000 rounds through them in an afternoon. And I don't think anybody had a hiccup that wasn't one of our operator errors.
Oh, you're making everybody in the listening audience mad because you had 5,000 rounds of ammunition to shoot.
No kidding. That's the most I'd seen in a long time, which is why we shot it as fast as we could. And it was 9 millimeters. Not like we're shooting, not shooting a 380. This is a 9 millimeter subcompact. And if you've ever seen the old Model 51, it looks kind of like a Walther. It is exactly that, but it's what do they call it? A delayed blowback.
Yeah, it's got the. It's basic.
A lot of debate. I don't understand that. But
is it like the Storm?
Huh?
Is it like the Beretta Storm pistols?
Yes. Yeah. Except this one has a lot going for it that just has to do with the ergonomics of shooting. Because of the way it's built, you have a very low bore access, and that very low bore access with an alloy frame gun. It's not polymer. And the spring around the barrel, because of the way it fires, has very, very, very limited muzzle flip. I mean, I was double tapping stuff, and I sounded like I could actually double tap. And you know me better than that. And putting accurate rounds on target. Rich Grassi, a tactical wire editor, was there as well, and we were all pretty well impressed with them. Very accurate. The one thing about them is everybody looks at them and they go, the sights are on them backwards. Well, they're actually not. The rear sight's not backwards. The rear sight has the taper to the back side.
Which is the way it should be.
Exactly. So if you have to operate the gun with one hand, you can rack it with using the rear slide.
Are you sure they just didn't put them on backwards in the factory?
I'm not certain, but
all right, Jim.
Turning them around. You know?
we can we pull 15 more minutes of your time?
I can do that.
All right, we'll be right back with more Gun Talk Radio and Jim Shepard.
Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Hi, I'm Tom Gresham. For more than 40 years, I've been watching an environmental disaster in my backyard, and it actually impacts all sportsmen in America. I'm talking about the massive loss of land on the Louisiana coastline. The U.S. Geological Survey said the swamps and marshes of coastal Louisiana are among the nation's most fragile and valuable wetlands. That land is disappearing. The Mississippi River Delta hosts as many as 10 million ducks and geese every winter. These are birds which migrate northward through the states, all the way to Canada. The wetlands of the Delta support some of America's best fresh and saltwater fishing. And here's the deal. The wetlands of the Mississippi River Delta are disappearing at a rate of 1 football field every hour. 1 football field every hour. Gone. We can reconnect the river with its wetlands and restore the Delta, but we need your help. Please visit vanishingparadise.org. That's vanishingparadise.org.
The world can be a dangerous place. Gear up with the industry's original and most trusted laser sighting system from Crimson Trace. Equipping your firearm with laser and light systems will enhance your effectiveness and help keep you and your family out of harm's way. Call 800-442-2406 or visit crimsontrace.com and receive a free copy of our new laser training video, The Laser's Edge. Crimson Trace.
The Ruger SR45, a large caliber pistol with a trim, ergonomic profile. Like the popular Ruger SR9 and SR40, the SR45 is perfectly sized to be comfortable and controllable with a slim, ergonomic grip and narrow slide. It features an adjustable 3-dot sight system, Ruger's unique reversible back strap, an ambidextrous manual safety and magazine release, and built-in Picatinny rail. The Ruger SR45, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
Questions? Comments? Please email Tom at guntalk.com. During the show, you can call Tom at 866-TOM-TALK-GUN. Now, back to Gun Talk.
Wow, we got that Studio 54 bump music there. It's got us shaking around in our chairs here in the studio. How about you, Jimmy? Did you catch a little bit of that Studio 54 bump music there?
Yeah, I've done a lot. I'm old enough to know what Studio 54 is.
Yeah, you actually know what that is. These young kids today, they have to watch the movie to figure out what that's all about.
Well, I can not only say that I remember it, I can say I've been there.
Oh, well.
I was in New York in those dark, dingy days.
There's so many places we could go with that, but we probably should keep it on a gun topic, you know.
I think that probably would be safer for me to deal with a gun and not Studio 54.
That would,
we were talking about new stuff, and there's lots of stuff, but not a lot of really what I would call groundbreaking new stuff. I mean, the Glock and the 51 and the Smith, Bodyguard, which hear it in the commercial. It's basically a bodyguard with a laser, a bodyguard without a laser. A lot of stuff is iterative this year. They're just introducing another something of something.
Well, and I kind of, you have to feel a little bit not bad for the gun manufacturers, but it's the shot show time. We've got the pre-shot jitters. Everybody in the industry does, and when we go, I know a lot of people out there are like, yeah, it's great for you guys. You get to go to SHOT Show. I'm not allowed. You can go to the NRA show, okay? But as soon as you get there, you start getting the Facebook messages, the emails, the phone calls. What's new? What is new? What is new? That's the first thing anybody asks you. What is new? And you're like, dude, guns, they're everywhere. Now, Jim, when it comes to pocket guns, do you see the 380 subcompact, super compact, micro? Do you see that slowing down, or do you just see it picking up more steam?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of people buying them, and I think they're still very popular. But I'm seeing a lot of other people move up in caliber. They're thinking they want a 9mm, and I think the industry's responding to that. And of course, there's still the little hand cannons that I guess Bond Arms started that with a 45-410, and now Heiser is finally coming out with their gun. Was it 3 years ago? The big buzz was Heiser was going to have a gun, and now they do. They're shipping one. I got word today that they're actually shipping the Heiser pistols today. So that's cool. But that's the other thing we run into. You know as well as I do, there's a lot of vaporware out there. In software business, that's what they call it. In the gun business, it's like, well, here's our prototype of this gun. And that may be the only time any of us ever see that.
Yeah. How many will you buy?
And if we write about it, we get heat for the rest of our lives. The
exactly.
manufacturer gets away free.
You told me about this gun, and it's been 6 months, and I still can't get one. I'm sorry.
Well, I like the guy. I write about it on Monday, and I get a phone call on Wednesday.
Shame on you.
I went to my dealer, and he ain't heard about it yet.
That's right. My dealer doesn't have one. It must not exist. Actually, we had that happen to us recently.
I wish my dealer was that good, but he's not.
We had one recently where we did kind of a sneak peek of a product, and immediately someone jumped in and said, that can't be that product, because I went to their website, and they're only taking pre-orders. And I was like, and somebody jumped in, it was just a Facebook thing, somebody jumped in and said, have you never heard of like an industry insider thing? They like to get them out so that they can tell you about it. That's the whole point, is telling you about it.
Well, don't you think it's amazing that these gun magazines show up on the newsstand with a picture of a gun that has just been announced this morning?
That was just released today.
How did they get those things out that fast? Who is running those presses?
That's right.
And
they're working overtime.
Amaze me sometimes. But you know what that points to? It points to the fact that we're all one great big community. Mm-hmm. We all like what we like. We all hate what we don't like, and we're all experts. That's one of the good news, bad news things about the business. But you don't have to know anything to be an expert anymore.
Well, and unfortunately, I think, and I've said this before, but I'm going to go ahead and say it on Gun Talk Radio so you can hear it for the first time.
Oh, it's official now. You better be careful.
Yeah, it's going to be official. It's going out coast to coast. But as a nation, and then, by default, as a gun culture, we have become spoiled. Let's face it. We're in a world where people want it. They expect that at 24 hours a day, if I decide I want something, I can get it. And when they can't, if they hear about a gun or an accessory or whatever, and they can't get it immediately, that moment in time, if they walk into the store and the guy doesn't have it, something's wrong. Why is it not here?
Oh, I know. Yeah, there's a breakdown in the system somewhere. No,
they're hoarding them.
There's a lag between news and product, or there should be. But you're exactly right, because I got really furious the other day at a major electronics manufacturing company because they told me it would take 2 weeks to get me a part.
Well, sometimes you got to plan ahead. And speaking of planning ahead, my illustrious engineer just said we got a break coming up. But Jim, will you stick with us until the top of the hour?
Sure.
All right, Jim is going to stick with us until we come back for the next segment of Gun Talk Radio.
Gun Talk stands for safety, personal responsibility, and common courtesy. To be a part of the show, call 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Gun Talk will be right back.
And we are back, and thank you again for being with us for Hour 2. Now we've got Jim Shepard on the line, and Jim is from the Outdoor Wire, the Shooting Wire, the Wire Services. You want to check those out online when you get a chance. Now, Jim, I'm going to throw you a question, and you can answer it any way you want. How about that?
All right.
The Wires are, in addition to telling you about products, it's a news service. What's going on in the firearms industry? Well, during this last week or two, there have been a couple things going on in the firearms industry with people or companies, former presidents, owners of companies that were purchased up by the Freedom Group. And we have Randy Luth, our friend Randy Luth, who is now started a new company. And then also Kevin Brittingham, who used to be he was the founder and president of Advanced Armament Corporation. There's an issue with him being released from his, non-compete agreement. Would you like to weigh in on either one of these industries?
And I hear he's going to have a big bundle of cash to go along with that as another congratulatory prize. Yeah, I know Randy is out there. He has a system of modular AR, modern sporting rifle, whatever you want to call it, type stocks that are coming out. But knowing Randy Luth is as well as I do, which is not as well as everybody in the industry, he's got a lot of great ideas, and he's been sitting on them for a while. You know, that's kind of what happens when a company is bought by a corporation. An entrepreneur gets bought out. They hang on by their fingernails till their employment contract goes, and then they go away for a while, and the ideas start to percolate. Well, I can only imagine with Kevin Brittingham, since he was forced not to do anything, how many ideas he has going. He revolutionized the suppressor world with some of the things they did, in addition to being one of the coolest companies ever.
Exactly.
He created a great corporate culture. Those people are still cool, and I would imagine they still completely confound their new owners, because when I went over to see their facility, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, they've got a skate park to test suppressors.
They got a half pipe.
I mean, it's just a cool, fun bunch of people, and they're doing well.
You want to tell the listening audience how their conference room is set up? It's uber cool. You don't want to tell them?
You tell them. Yeah, okay. I was wowed out by it.
All right, folks, this is how cool those guys are. They're Star Wars geeks, totally. And the conference room that they built looks like the conference room in the Death Star from the original Star Wars movie.
It may be the conference room from the Death Star, because they were making prodigious amounts of money, and their facility's awesome. I mean, it is. It's like it's a grown-up guy's playground, and creative stuff comes out of there. And of course, the industry has gotten a little corporate in the last 10 years. I'd say a lot of the fun has gone out of it, and the companies that are still having fun are still ringing the bell.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's advice. The bean counters are going crazy when they hear me say things like that. But, what we do for a living wouldn't work in a corporate environment. We're too burdened by overhead costs and offices and blah, 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 and all the other stuff. Most of us are running and gunning, solo acts, and that's the way it works best.
Well, Jim, we got 30 seconds left. What should the audience be looking for in 2014? Is there anything cool or interesting or new that people should be on the lookout for?
Let me tell you, the thing you ought to be watching the closest is what's going on in Washington with the executive orders, and what's going on with Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious and Wide Receiver are going to come back to the front pages. They're not going to go away this time.
That's right. There's 2 books out now. There's one by Mike Deddy, and then there's another one written recently by an ATF agent who was involved with it as well. So good advice from our friend Jim Shepard. Keep your heads up, pay attention to what's going on, and don't let them sweep this Fast and Furious under the rug. We'll be back.
Firearms, ammunition, recreational and competitive shooting, training, hunting, and yes, even politics. You're listening to Gun Talk. Call us now at 1-866-825-5486. That's 1-TOM-TALK-GUN. Or reach out to us via email at tom@guntalk.com.